Our headlines for tonight. The lower house begins the debate of the draft 2017 general budget, with deputies opposing any sale tax hikes and criticizing what they describe as classical budgets that rely on tax collection. 70 countries reaffirmed that only a two-state solution can resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and warned they will not recognize unilateral steps that could prejudge negotiations. And after taking full control of the Mosul University area, Iraqi special forces sweep the campus to clear it of any remaining Daesh terrorists. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. 5 new ministers in the cabinet of Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki were sworn in before His Majesty King Abdullah after a royal decree approved a government reshuffle. Under the reshuffle, Mamdouh al-Abbadi was appointed as State Minister for Prime Ministry Affairs, Ghalib al-Za'bi as Minister of Interior, replacing Salami Hamad. Ayman al-Safadi was appointed as Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs, replacing Nasser Joudeh. Bishr Khassaune as Minister for Legal Affairs. Omar al-Razzaz as Minister of Education, replacing Mohammed Nebat, and Haditha Khreisha as Minister of Youth, replacing Rami Urekat. Minister Khassaune was not sworn in due to an official engagement abroad. The other outgoing ministers are Jawad al-Anani, who held the post of Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs, and State Minister for Investment Affairs Fawaz Rashidat, who held the post of Minister of State for Prime Ministry Affairs, and Yusuf Mansour, who held the post of State Minister for Economic Affairs. His Majesty thanked the outgoing ministers for their services during their tenure. The lower house of Parliament began a debate of the draft 2017 general state budget and the budgets of independent government entities. Deputies taking the floor during the session proposed spending cuts and the creation of a self-sustained economy that relies on the industrial sector. They said the government should steer away from what they dubbed as ready-made recipes by international organizations. They also voiced opposition to sale tax hikes, criticizing what they described as classical budgets that rely on tax collection to secure the treasury funds. The deputies proposed that benefits for senior civil servants be trimmed as part of austerity measures, while urging job creation and poverty alleviation policies that protect low and medium income groups. Others taking the floor tackled the issue of minimum acceptable wage and the need for subsidies to small farmers, while a big number of the House members called for tougher measures to stamp out corruption. Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki asked all ministries and public institutions to pool their resources for the success of the upcoming Arab Summit, which the Kingdom will host in late March. In a statement circulated to the various ministries and public entities, Mulki called for collective efforts to project a positive image of the Kingdom during the event. 3 committees have been formed to oversee all preparations related to the summit. One chaired by Mulki and includes the membership of senior officials to take the necessary high-level decisions. The other 2 are the Media Committee and Protocol and Logistics Committee. A communiqué from a meeting in Paris, attended by representatives and diplomats from 70 countries, was reaffirmed that only a two-state solution between Palestinians and Israelis could resolve the long-standing conflict. The participants also warned they would not recognize any unilateral steps taken by either side that could prejudge negotiations. Britain, however, said it had reservations about the outcome of the gathering intended to advance peace between Palestinians and Israelis that does not involve either side and taking place just days before the transition to a new American president. Yet, with the absence of Israel and representatives of Donald Trump's incoming administration, French organizers hope to send them a strong message that a two-state proposal is the best way to achieve Middle East peace. Here's more.
Home to Europe's largest Muslim and Jewish communities, France has tried to breathe new life into the peace process over the past year. But with the uncertainty surrounding how the next U.S. administration will handle the issue, France believes it is important to push the parties back to talks rather than allowing a fragile status quo to fester. Sending a forceful message to Israel and the incoming Trump administration, more than 70 world diplomats gathered in Paris to say they want peace in the Middle East and that establishing a Palestinian state is the only way to achieve it. French President François Hollande sounded an alert that peace talks should be revived for the security of Israel, security of all the region, before the violent extremists and Israeli settlements destroy any hope of a two-state solution. The conference also provided a platform for countries to send a strong signal to the incoming U.S. president. Donald Trump has pledged to pursue more pro-Israeli policies and move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, despite international objections.
Voilà notre message.
That is our message. It comes at a moment when there is going to be a new administration taking over in Washington. Over 20 years after the Oslo agreements, everybody needs to know what the lessons to be learned from history are. Everybody needs to understand what is at stake and that things cannot be improvised nor turned upside down. It is absolutely necessary for the international community to think hard about the best way to make a solution possible for the two-state solution.
Though the two parties that really matter were not there, the Palestinians welcomed the conference, while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it rigged and cooked up behind Israel's back to force it to accept conditions against national interests.
The conference convening today in Paris is a futile conference. It was coordinated between the French and the Palestinians. It aims to force conditions on Israel that conflict with our national interests. It further distances peace because it hardens the Palestinians' position and helps them avoid direct negotiations without preconditions.
Though no breakthroughs were expected or achieved at the conference, French diplomats thought there was nothing to lose by trying to get the Palestinians and Israelis back to the negotiating table. Other separate meetings with Palestinians organized by Russia this week may further complicate matters or, in best scenarios, again end without a breakthrough. Alia Tuqan for the news at 10.
Over to Syria, the Syrian army and allied Lebanese Hezbollah group clashed with rebels near Damascus, making some gains against the rebels in the Wadi Arab area. Renewed clashes are threatening to disrupt planned repairs to a pumping station that supplies most of the capital's water, as heavy fighting reached the outskirts of Al Fija town where the water springs are located. Engineers had entered Ain Al Fija on Friday to repair the water station as part of a wider agreement that included the departure of some rebels from Wadi Barada and a settlement with others who would remain there. But the plan was derailed yesterday after armed men killed the head of a negotiation team who was overseeing the agreement and repairs. Elsewhere in Syria, the Turkish military said army jets carried out strikes against 12 Daesh targets in Al-Bab and Bza'a in northern Syria, in a roundup of its operations in the region over the past 24 hours. The Turkish military said 9 Daesh terrorists had been killed in the airstrikes, which were carried out yesterday. Syrian rebels, backed by Turkish special forces, tanks and warplanes, have besieged the Daesh-held city of Al-Bab for weeks as part of an operation to drive the terrorists out of a strip of Syrian territory along the Turkish border. To Iraq, and after taking full control of the Mosul University area, special forces swept the campus to clear it of any remaining Daesh terrorists. An Iraqi military spokesman said troops also took another area, the Andalus district, along the eastern bank of the Tigris River. An Iraqi commander said the university area is considered an important gain towards retaking the entire eastern half of Mosul, as gains over the past weeks bring more of Daesh strongholds in Iraq under Iraqi forces' control. Attacks on the west of the city, which Daesh still fully controls, can begin once the east is secured. Saudi Arabia urged member countries of the anti-Daesh coalition to reinforce their participation and deploy greater efforts to ensure further successes in their common combat against terror groups. The call was made as the chiefs of staff of 14 member countries attended the Conference of Global Coalition Against Daesh in Riyadh. Lieutenant General Mahmoud Frihat represented Jordan at the conference. The conference also discussed ways to upgrade coordination among coalition members, how to build on the efforts of international coalition, as well as how to enhance the participation of Arab and Muslim countries in the coalition. Besides Arab and Islamic states, also taking part in the conference were the United States and Turkey. On the occasion of the World Day of Migrants and Refugees, Pope Francis urged for child migrants to be protected and defended, saying that they are exposed to numerous dangers, especially when they undertake the long journey on their own. Speaking to crowds gathered in St. Peter's Square, the Pope also said migrants should respect the laws and traditions of the communities who have taken them in. In April last year, following a visit to a migrant camp in Greece, the Pope brought 3 families of Syrian refugees back to Rome with him. A record 181,000 migrants, mostly from Africa, reached Italy by boat in 2016. Among them were some 25,000 unaccompanied minors. Back here at home, Her Majesty Queen Rania chaired the annual meeting of the Queen Rania Award for Excellence in Education to review achievements made in the past year and activities lined up as part of the next 5-year plan. Her Majesty listened to a briefing by the awards director Lubna Touqan on plans aimed at engaging winners in activities that benefit their communities. The award aims to reinforce competition among educators, create a positive impact on the education sector, and contribute to implementing the recommendations of the National Strategy on Human Resource Development. Each year, outstanding teachers, school principals, and counselors are awarded for their exceptional contribution to education in Jordan. Could an intelligent robot ever be blamed for committing a crime? That's the question being asked by the European Parliament as it looks to better regulate Europe's robotics industry. The Parliament wants a clear set of EU laws to decide who's to blame if a robot is used to commit a crime or commits one accidentally. Will it be the manufacturer, the operator, or even perhaps the robot itself? Lawmakers are also debating concerns about the amount of data robots have access to, and with many more set to enter people's homes, they're worried the machines could be used to spy on people. The debate is the first step in putting together European legislation, which could include a rule to ensure all robots have a kill switch to shut them off if something goes wrong. In the meantime, the EU might set up a special agency to deal just with robotics law, and robots could end up being given a special legal status as an electronic person. The Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus will cease performances after 146 years in business, owing to what they said were declining ticket sales and high operating costs. Ringling has been phasing out elephants as a result of the shifting public tastes and criticism from animal rights groups over the well-being of the animals. In May last year, the circus retired its Elephant Act, which resulted in sales dropping even further. However, the historic American spectacle will deliver its final show in May with performances in Rhode Island and New York.
Okay. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey performing Bonnie, Karen, and Nicole. Together they weigh 30 tons. That's over 60,000 pounds. Kelly and Juliet.
Alex Fiva of Switzerland boosted his World Cup ski cross score with a win in the second of two races at the South Tyrol resort of Vattels, Italy. Fiva led into the first corner and kept the lead until the finish line, but he was chased all the way. Second came USA's Brady Lehman, followed by Armin Niebderer, who punched the air to celebrate his third place. In the women's Some 30 swimmers competed for the title of Ice King of Chiemsee in the cold waters of the famous South German Lake in Prien near Munich, Germany yesterday. In driving snow with the air temperature around freezing and the water around 4 degrees Celsius, the swimmers competed in several disciplines, including breaststroke and freestyle between the two jetties set 50 meters apart. There was also a fun run without any timing for anybody who just wanted to experience the kick of the icy waters between the icy stints and the water. The swimmers could warm up with hot tea or in a hot tub on the shores of the lake. The sport of ice or winter swimming has been much practiced in Scandinavian and Baltic countries, as well as China and Russia. And finally, chilly conditions continue in most regions for the rest of tonight with light variable winds. A rise in temperatures is expected tomorrow, but it remains relatively cold in hilly areas and fair in the Badia and eastern plains with southeasterly moderate winds. The Gulf of Aqaba should continue to expect relatively warm conditions tomorrow with northerly moderate winds and calm seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. Before we end the night, here's a quick recap of our top stories. The lower house begins a debate of the draft 2017 general budget, with deputies opposing any sale tax hikes and criticizing what they describe as classical budgets that rely on tax collection. 70 countries reaffirm that only a two-state solution can resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and warn they will not recognize unilateral steps that could prejudge negotiations. And after taking full control of the Mosul University area, Iraqi special forces sweep the campus to clear it of any remaining Daesh terrorists. With this, we come to the end of the news. I'm Dana Abu Sham. Thanks for watching and have a good night.